What's up, everybody? This is Whiskey in the Six. I'm Rob. Today I'm doing a Glendronach rundown that's going to be followed with a review of this beautiful batch 009 Grandeur. Alright. So again, just to go over the format, the only order I'm going to be abiding to is the order of my preference. So you might have some 15-year-olds and 12-year-olds scattered all over the place, but it's based on which I liked from least to greatest. Alright, so first on my list is going to be the peated port Glendronach. I wasn't a big fan of this one. I don't know if they're going to be making this one forever. It's probably a limited release, but it just wasn't the greatest of their line. Didn't really get a lot of Glendronach characteristic out of this one. It was okay, but just not great. Next up is the 18-year-old Townie port. I just wasn't a big fan of the Townie port. I find that Glendronach is doing what Glendronach does best when they stick with the Oloroso and the Pedro Jimenez sherry casks. I haven't had too many quality Glendronachs using port casks. The peated port, the Townie port 18, both on the bottom of the list for me. Following those two is going to be the 19-year-old Madeira. Very good stuff, just again, not as high quality as what I've come to be used to with Glendronach whiskies. Really liked the 19-year-old Madeira. I just like other expressions better. The cask strength Glendronach is going to be next on the list. Very good stuff, just not what I'm looking for in a cask strength whiskey. I find that these no age statement cask strength whiskies tend to be a little bit thin. They tend to not capture the distillery characteristics that the main lines tend to be able to pick up. And for that reason, the cask strength batch 4 in particular is going to be lower on my list than some of the others. Next on the list is a 12-year-old. Really like this whiskey. Combination of Pedro Jimenez and Oloroso sherry. It's 43%, but it's unchill filtered and natural color, which is awesome for a 12-year-old whiskey. Not the cheapest of the 12-year-olds in all the Scotch lines, but it's still a fair priced, high quality whiskey. Next on the list is the 15-year-old Revival. I've had an opportunity to try the 2013 and the 2015. Both were excellent, high quality stuff. I'd probably give these a 90 now if I had to remark them. They're 46%, exclusively Oloroso sherry. Awesome stuff. I really enjoy them. They're worth the hype. If you can get the ones that predate 2016, you're getting older whiskey than what's shown on the bottle, which is really cool. The new ones have gone back down to 15 years old, but the 2013 is 18 and the 2015 is 20, so if you can find them, I highly recommend you pick them up. I'm going to also put the Glendronach Allardyce at a 90. I had several bottles of this, really like it. It's a sherry bomb in the truest form, 46%, really good stuff. I can't say enough about it. It was my whiskey of the year the first year I did Whiskey in the Six. It's awesome stuff. I've adjusted the mark since. I'm going to keep it at around the 90. I think it's probably very close to the 15-year-old Revival, almost a tie. It nudges it out a little bit in my opinion, but depending on the day, sometimes I prefer to go to one as opposed to the other. So it's a flip of the coin, but really good stuff. 18-year-old Allardyce. So part of the reason why I do these rundowns is when something changes my mind. Recently I've had a sample of the Glendronach Parliament 21-year-old. Originally I placed the Allardyce ahead of the 21-year-old. Maybe it's because the Parliament is getting a little bit older as the years progress. It says 21 on the label, but for the next few years it's going to get older and older. I believe it's up to about 23 years old. I could be wrong about that, maybe 22, but whatever the case may be, it's actually really good stuff. It's going to nudge out the Allardyce and the Revival by maybe a half a point. I'm going to say a full point because I don't really give half a points, so it's going to be a 91. You can still get this for a fairly reasonable price compared to other 21-year-old whiskeys, so the Parliament 21-year-old is next on the list. I'm going to put the single cask range here, just between the 21 and this beautiful whiskey right here, which I haven't given a mark yet. The single cask range is fantastic, and if you're looking for a sherry bomb, these are the ones that you really want to hunt down. Some are Oloroso sherry, some are Pedro Jimenez sherry. You can actually find some Townie port as well. I haven't had a bad one. They're all excellent. I've had an 11-year-old that trumps all the stuff that I've mentioned before this, and I've had 18-year-olds and 21-year-olds, all excellent. So pick up a single cask if you have an opportunity, because they're fantastic and I highly recommend them. All right, so we made it down to the Glendronach Grandeur batch 009. I had another batch, but after tasting this, I'm convinced that the 007 bottle that I had went bad. The cork had broken off the top. I was able to get all the cork out of the bottle, but I think that only happened because something happened with the bottle itself. It wasn't what it was supposed to be. This proves it. It's fantastic. All right. Here's a look at the box. They're using the same box. It's a piano wood box. Super heavy. It's got quite nice finishing and just beautiful stuff all around. This is bottle number 936 of 1,487 bottles. It's bottled at 48.7%, I believe. Yeah, right there. 48.7%. Honestly, the color on that is just one of the many examples of how good this stuff is. I've given out a few samples of it already. Just a pleasure to drink. It's a combination of barrels coming from 1990, 1992, and 1993. So it says 24 years old on the bottle, but it's actually a little bit older than that in combination on average. I would say that it's probably only one barrel from each, maybe two 24-year-old barrels. And the reason why I think that is there's only 1,487 barrels, or 1,487 bottles. So that's roughly 3 casks, maybe a little bit more, possibly 4. So you're getting a high percentage of older whiskey in this than it actually shows on the label. On the nose. All the dark, beautiful notes that you come to expect from a heavily sherried, older Glendronach. Chocolate. There's a beautiful fruity note to this one as well. It's a mixture of fresh fruit, fresh raspberries, and then cooked down strawberries and blackberries and maybe even blueberries. It smells like all the ingredients in a berry pie when it's being cooked down into a syrupy, beautiful compote that's actually going to be placed into the pie for baking. Definitely a syrupy element to it. Maybe it's my Canadian in me that thinks that there's some maple syrup notes in this. And then there's this beautiful, like, Christmassy chestnut type smell to it that I absolutely adore. On the palate, not even the slightest burn, which is another indication to me that something was wrong with the previous Grandeur that I had, because that just was all alcohol burn. This has almost zero alcohol burn, 48.7%. It's not cask strength, I don't think, but it's very close to it. Wow, this gets better and better every single time I try it. It's just super mouth coating. The finish is all chocolates and chestnut and almond, but like baked chestnuts and almonds. Awesome. Honestly, it's incredible. Marking this has been tough for me because that Glengoyne is close to my heart. I love it. But this is super close, if not just as good. So for that reason, I'm going to have to give this a 94 as well. Yeah, it's very difficult to find a flaw in this whiskey. Just beautiful stuff. Like I said, it's a 94 for sure. Tied with the Glengoyne 30-year-old. Um, they're about the same price, so you're looking at around $1,000 for both of those whiskeys. I will say that this is every single thing that a Glendronach fan is looking for in a glass. The new one, I believe, is 27 years old. Batch 10 just came out. This was released in February of 2018, so almost a year ago. It's about $900 at the SAQ in Quebec, and I don't know where to find it in Alberta. I haven't found it yet. Maybe there will be some places popping up with it shortly. They tend to get everything about a year later, depending on what it is. But this is one of those ones that I might have to hunt down a backup bottle for because it's just that good. This is really expensive stuff, and I don't expect everybody to get a chance to try this. There's only about 1,500 bottles. If you can, buy it with 10 people. Try a couple ounces out of it. That way everybody kind of gets a nice conversation piece. It's a nice way to celebrate an evening, and a whole bunch of people get to try it. I've shared a bunch of this already. I plan to share more of it, and that's what whiskey's all about. So if you can do it, grab one, split it with 9 or 10 of your friends, and that makes it much more affordable. All right. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you really like the video, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. You guys can check me out on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You guys can also leave a comment below, and I will get back to you. Cheers.